Hi, everybody. For the last week, my family and I have been fortunate to spend it at a timeshare that we had access to here in Newport Coast. And this was our view from our room. Beautiful. And every time I see a view like this, or every time I see a mountain, or just a really clear night with all the stars in the sky, I think of the power of God, right? That He could create all of this just by the word of His mouth. And that He created the whole universe in 6 days. It really shows, the creation really shows the power of God, the character of God, the beauty, the majesty of God. It really gives us a glimpse into who God is. And so I wanted to talk to you a little bit about that. There's a verse in Romans chapter 1 where the Apostle Paul talks about the creation and how it all points to the Lord. Where he says, since the creation of the world, His invisible attributes, His eternal power and divine nature have been clearly seen, being understood through what has been made, so that they are without excuse. Paul's saying that the creation, what we see in nature, the majesty of the mountains, the stars, the sun, the moon, the oceans, that points us towards God, so that we are without excuse. You know, I'm always amazed that people can see what God has created and just kind of not even give God the credit for it. But when we look at it through the lens of Scripture, when we look at what God's created through the lens of the Bible, it truly is awesome. And it points us to the Lord, and it'll point others to the Lord. It'll point people who don't know Jesus, it'll point them to Him. In the book of Acts, the early church, the apostles, when they would preach to the Jews, they would use the Old Testament, because the Jews knew the Old Testament. They knew what the Old Testament said about the coming Messiah. But when they preached to the Gentiles, who didn't have the Old Testament, they would use the creation. They would say things like, the God who created the heavens and the earth and the seas, this is the God who has given us salvation. And so when we're talking to our neighbors, when we're loving our neighbors and sharing the gospel with them, talk about the creation. Talk about the vastness of the universe and then the complexities of the human body and all the living things, the plants, the animals, the wide variety of the different types of species there are. And use it all to point people toward the Lord. It's an amazing thing. Unfortunately, we're leaving here today, and we're going back home, but we've had a great time here in Newport, and it's been an amazing thing to look at this beautiful place and to dwell on the majesty and the beauty and the love of our God. I hope to see you soon. Love you guys.